Hey everyone, Mr. Overon here with Mr. Overon's Tarot Reading Services. If you haven't done so already, please hit like and subscribe, and let's get right into it, shall we? So, this video is all about black magic. What it is and what it isn't. There are so many people out there that have this huge misconception, that's the word I'm looking for, that are about what black magic is and isn't. And I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about it tonight and give you kind of like a little bit of a background as to, again, what it is and what it isn't. So, most times when you hear a black magic spell, it invokes all kinds of imagery of like darkly cladded people standing around a bonfire and sacrifice and this, that, and the other thing. And where some of that could be true, 98% of that is bullshit that Hollywood has created to sell movies and what the church has created to like bring about like this fear of the occult and all this other stuff. Now, black magic falls into many different topics and into many different categories. Casting a spell on somebody, like say that you wanted to do a spell to help a friend get better from being sick, unless you expressly got their permission to cast a spell on them, that's technically black magic. Casting a spell on somebody for protection without their acknowledgement or their okay, that's technically black magic. Black magic is the use of any kind of magical working without the express consent of somebody else. So, love spells can be considered black magic because you are working your will on somebody else's to get them to want you or see you as more desirable. So, you know, a lot of times we're like, oh, I'm just going to cast a love spell, I'm going to make this guy or this girl fall in love with me. Well, technically that's black magic. Now, getting out of the technicalities of like what black magic actually is and what it isn't, for a good majority of my life, I practice black magic at its roots. And what I mean by that is I practice Satanism, devil worshipping, and like everything in between. Now, Satanism gets a very bad rap. Satanism is not the same as devil worship. They're kind of a little bit of a crowbar separation there. When you hear devil worship, your mind probably automatically reverts to like the Christian ideology of a cloven-hoofed being wringing his hands like, yeah, I'm gonna get your soul, and having to sign contracts and, you know, deals with the devil. Well, the term devil transcends any one particular religion or archetype and refers to any like negative, sometimes lower level, sometimes higher level being. Demonology, you know, things like that. Those are all, demons are in their own right considered devils. But, you know, Satanism really does get a really bad rap. And during my time as a Satanist, I found it to be a very peaceful, very wholesome religion or following or whatever you want to call it. They have 13 tenets that are very it's basically their law, it's their commandments, and some of them are you will not make any sexual advances upon anyone who does not wish sexual contact with you or whatever. You will not harm children, things like that. And there's a whole list of it. All you have to type in, you can do a Google search for it, type in the 13 Commandments of Satanism, and it will come up. And it's basically a 10 Commandments for Christians, but for Satanists, and they use the number 13 because 13 has mystical, magical properties, and so on and so forth, and we're not getting into that. That's a whole nother video. But basically what Satanism is recognizing yourself as a god, that no supreme being is telling you that you need to go out and do good or bad or whatever, that you have to you have to stand up for what you've done. You have to take ownership. And so, if you go out and be a complete total fuckhead, then that's on you. That's not the devil made me do it. That's not I heard voices or whatever. It's you. Now, there's going to be a lot of people who watch this video and be like, oh, no. It's 100% excuse me, pure and evil. But, no, it's not pure evil. There's a little bit of a separation and a crowbar. No. Devil worship gets a little bit more messy. Devil worship is where you start to see the sacrifices of animals and so on and so forth. Are there some covens within the satanic umbrella that perform sacrificial rituals? Sure, there's always going to be those few wackadoos out there that perform sacrifices or whatever, but a true Satanist is never going to harm a living being for its own benefit. It's best to give of oneself than to take the life or the life force or the energy of something else in regards to what you want to come into your life or whatever. If you do any kind of spiritual deals or contracts or pacts or whatever you want to call them, it's always best to do it of yourself, because it's between you and that entity, that demon, that spirit, whatever you want to call it. Not, oh, let me kill this in your name, and because I gave you this sacrifice, let me have all the glory. Well, to that, right? So, I've been involved where there's been ritualistic sacrifice, and I have witnessed ritualistic sacrifice of animals, not of humans or babies or whatever else you can possibly think of. One that I always talk about in whenever anyone asks me about black magic is the black mass that I attended, that a goat was sacrificed. And I'm not going to get into that story because it's very long and I really don't want to talk about it right now. But, that was one of 5 or 6 sacrificial rites or rituals, whatever you want to call it, that I've ever attended or was part of. I've never killed an animal in a ritualistic sacrifice. Again, my own personal beliefs and tenets that's just, for lack of a better word, taboo. I'd rather give of myself than to take from something or someone else and use that as collateral for whatever demons or whatever spell or whatever I'm trying to manifest or make happen. Are there soul contracts and things like that you can enter into with demons? Of course there is. The whole, some of you who are like supernatural fans or watch like Buffy the Vampire Slayer back in the day, or like Charmed or whatever, there are those demons. There are the crossroad demons and so on and so forth. A lot of those shows they cherry pick the idea of the character from actual lore and wrap it up in a Hollywood bow and present it to the viewer as like, this is what you do. But yeah, there are those crossroad demons. There just like you would think of a spirit for whatever, there is a demon for whatever. There's a demon for like menstruation. There's a demon for erectile dysfunction. Go down the line, basically. There's a demon for it. And that's getting into the demonology aspect of it, which is a little bit different than devil worship. Demonology is like the study and the knowledge of demons and how they act and react to one another, and how to evoke them and invoke them and all this other stuff. So, but you can form pacts with spirits. It's really highly it's not recommended unless you know for damn good and sure that what you conjure you can banish. And usually higher level black magicians do stuff like that. I have a pact with the demon myself when I was much younger and really hard and heavy into just black magic in general. A demon presented itself to me one night. After talking with it for a little while, came to the conclusion that this is what we wanted to do, and I made a pact with it. The terms of the pact was for 10 years, and once the 10-year mark happened, it came to me again and basically said, I'm going to continue hanging out with you. If you want to work with me, just call me up or whatever, what. And the imagery of demons is really misconstrued also. Do they have their quote-unquote demonic form or whatever? Yes. But for the most part, they just come across like you and me and have this conversation like you and me. Sometimes their vocabulary isn't like as fine-tuned as modern day English. Sometimes they'll refer to things kind of differently, so you gotta listen to what they're saying. When and if you enter into a spiritual pact with them, you've got to be very specific on the details. There cannot be any gray area whatsoever. Having that gray area can really screw with you. But at its core, black magic is just the sister of white magic or whatever else. You have to look at things in balanced terms. For every positive action, there is a negative reaction. For every negative reaction, there is a positive reaction. So, learning to be an adept witch and walking between the both worlds, where you kind of blend the two, that's where the terminology gray witchcraft comes in. And I consider myself a gray witch because I use both black magic and white magic interchangeably a lot of times. Even my white magic spells that I will cast will have black magic undertones, and vice versa. Usually it's like I always put in clauses in my spells whenever I cast them. So like if I'm casting a spell on somebody and I'm putting a hex upon them, I leave the clause that until they do right by me, then that spell continues on. But once they do right by me or what have you, then that spell is null and void and their life can return to however. That was something I kind of picked up early on in life when I was just learning about black magic. But, you know, it's all about balance. And with black magic, it's knowing when to curse, how to curse, and all that other stuff. So, just like you would cast a spell for positive, you could cast a spell for negative. Hexing, for whatever reason, comes extremely easy for me. And I find that, like, when I was really hard and heavy into the dark stuff, that, things just happen, like, instantaneous, basically. I cast a spell, and within 15-20 minutes, it was already working. I don't know if that's because of the demons I was working with, or just that general error of what have you, but you don't have to be a completely evil, bad person, or whatever, in order to use black magic. Like I said, a lot of times, the most innocent of spells can technically be black magic. So, it all really depends on the character of the person. Now, you can be a complete total fuckhead like Aleister Crowley and jump feet first into like this pit of dark black magic, and everything about you is consistently black and negative and whatever else. And yeah, you know, there's always that, but you're always going to be out of balance. So for me, as being a gray witch or a gray practitioner, I try to walk the line between both good, like white magic and black magic. And now, technically, there is no color combinations for witchcraft or magic or whatever else. The terminology white, black, gray, green, whatever witchcraft comes based on like the type of magic that somebody does. So if you've heard the term white magic magician, that means that they are always casting protection spells, healing spells, are very benevolent in their like workings. And green witchcraft is people who work directly with the earth and incorporate forest magic and like plant magic and all this other stuff. And then, you know, gray magic is the merger of white and black magic is like all that. So it gets, I'm making it sound very convoluted when it really isn't. The bottom line is that in order to be a black magician, there is a lot of things that you gotta go through, especially like in education. Like, you can't just wake up tomorrow and decide, oh, I'm gonna be a black magician. You have to have an understanding of witchcraft, and not just like a Barnes and Noble hot topic understanding of witchcraft. Like, I mean, you need to do some serious research and understand the fundamental building blocks of witchcraft and how to call and properly call demons and how to deal with those darker aspects and those darker entities. Because even though like Wicca is really huge right now, and people are like, oh, there's no bad things in Wicca, Wicca is this great thing and blah blah. Honestly, Wicca is just witchcraft with training wheels. every god and goddess that you call upon in Wicca has a dark aspect to them and can be utilized for black magic. One of the goddesses, for example, Hecate. Hecate is considered the queen witch of the queen of all the witches, and she's known as the triple-faced goddess. And of the triple-faced goddess, she's usually represented as an old crone or an old woman. So in Wicca, you could utilize Hecate as like a positive goddess, but her aspect is actually dark. Aphrodite, goddess of love, desire, and beauty. Well, her other aspects is she's extremely jealous, she is extremely vain, and very, like, possessive. So you could utilize Aphrodite, who is known as the god of love, desire, sex, and beauty, and so on and so forth, for, like, negative purposes, like calling upon her because you want to knock the popular girl down a peg, or like for whatever reason, like you're jealous, so you would call upon her because your husband or your boyfriend or your girlfriend is cheating on you, and you want the person who is like the other, like you get the idea. So you would call on Aphrodite and say, listen, this person is holding my lover captivated, and I want you to cause like this huge rift between them and bring her or him back to me. And that, that right there, that's black magic. But the point that I try to drive home with most people when they are talking to me about wanting to study black magic is that you need the fundamental basics. And there are tons and tons of books out there. There's tons of websites and whatever else that you can read and get this information off of. Stay away from Facebook. I know that there's a bajillion and 12 Facebook groups. Stay away from Facebook. Do actual Google searches on topics of black magic. There's a website called Sacred Texts. Look through there. They have it's basically known as the Internet's Book of Shadows. And it's actual scholarly written paperwork and documentation and stuff written by real world witches, not like Reddit or Twitter or Instagram, TikTok, Facebook witches, talking like old school, like cloak and dagger type witches and practitioners. But yeah, I have this huge grudge against a lot of the newer witches out on the scene right now, especially those people who like go to Whole Foods or Trader Joe's, buy some sage, and go to Hot Topic or Barnes & Noble or some other little bookstore and get a book on Wicca or witchcraft and read it, and then all of a sudden they are a witch. It's like, no, just because you do a self-dedication ritual doesn't necessarily mean that you have become a witch. You have dedicated yourself to the idea and to the practice of witchcraft, but you have so much more that goes into that. So yeah, if you guys want me to talk a little bit more, or like kind of narrow in the topics of like black magic or whatever, let me know. Put it in the comment section down below, and I will do my best to cover whatever topics you happen to throw at me, or whatever questions that you ask of me, and we can go from there. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, put them in the comment section down below. If you want a reading or spell casting or anything like that, head over to the website mroveron.com. You can follow me on some of the different social medias. The links are down below, but I'm on Instagram as Mr. Overon. I'm on TikTok as Mr. Overon. Twitter is Mr. Overon, or daily OAM. So yeah, hit me up. And you can also find me on Facebook under Mr. Overon's Tarot Reading Services. So, yeah, until next time, I will talk to y'all later. Bye, witches.